Or how about Aerosmith, my big 10-inch?
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, dude. If you played it, you'd probably recognize it.
Maybe. Hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is host Eric. I am the Huesto de Taquiendo de Familia de People, as you probably have heard before. I don't see any audio thing. Hey, LJ, can you hear me? Do I have audio sounds? Hello, and up. Can you hear me? Do I have audio sounds? Good. I'm glad. So today the topic is slots and lots of plots. I was struck because we were visiting with the neighbors last night. One of the neighbors was an ENFJ, and her boyfriend is an ESFJ. And I thought, boy, will their slot relations result in lots and lots of conflict.
Lots and lots of pain and suffering and death.
Yep. And you know why? It's because the lady, she uses the truth as her tool function and is blind to her experience. And the guy, he uses his experience as the tool function and is blind to the truth. That's what I call recipe for clusterfuckery. Clusterfuckery! So, slots are important. Slots are very important.
Slots and slabs. Children's game about existence.
Slots and slabs is a great version of Chutes and Ladders, right? I think. Yeah. That's a very, very powerful notion there. So this morning also I went across the street and I hung out with a different neighbor who lives across the street who's an ENFP, and he's such a fucking extroverted intuitor. He gave me a jar of plum jam. Yes, I was married to an ESFJ.
I have it on good authority that he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. This ENFP. He plays music, and we jammed out a little bit on the porch, and it was nice. And see, that's another slot relations thing. It was cool seeing an ENFP and somebody who had no idea anything about cognitive functions or personality types, and be able to tell them a little bit like, oh, this is why you and I are so similar a little bit and so different at the same time,
ENFPs are cool guys. The men tend to be a little more tolerable than the women, for obvious reasons.
Well, this guy,
at least as a man.
Like me, he's probably looks to be about my age. Like me, he's written like hundreds of songs, and he's played in lots of different bands. But unlike me, he's TE, right? So he's done a lot more performing live and shit like that. Learning to play covers, being cover bands and stuff, because a TE person, they know how to get shit actually accomplished. Me, I'm like, well, but I don't want to play that. So it's weird. They have tool function FI. Obviously, one from TI. But part of that means like I don't get to realize that some part of it is important to me, and I'd rather do some part of it than exactly what I want, Melandrick says something interesting here. I don't know exactly what he means, but he says, he or she, and ENFPs and INTPs seem to share preference for extroverted functions, which is interesting.
I have an inkling in my brain that is accurate, in a sense, but I can't explain why.
I have to think about it a bit. Oh, Melandrick says energy according to Model G.
I guess ironically, we're like, out of all the NPs, we are the ones who like to really get down and party, I guess, the most. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but
yeah, Alpha Quadrant in general, I think.
No, I mean ENFPs and INTPs compared to ENTPs and INFPs.
Oh, yeah. And Up, that makes me extremely happy to hear. And Up says, I started learning a Gavi Weatherman on the guitar today. That's fantastic. Makes me super happy.
Oh my god, if she keeps talking about other guys, just spare yourself now. You're gonna end up being pulled into this hole filled with other men.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you make it clear that you like her and you want to get on her and shit, and if she's still talking about other guys, then listen to what Spacey says. But right now, she might be trying to feel out whether or not you're into her, and so she may be like mentioning other guys, see how you react, to see if you gotta
right.
Make sure you're on the same page first.
Make it pretty clear that she better shut up about that shit. And you don't want to hear it.
Right. Just say, listen, baby, whip it out and just be like, listen, baby, once you get to touch this.
Yeah, forget about those other dudes.
There are no other Y chromosomes in the world.
What you need.
Yeah. You're going to get all this.
Obviously, they did it.
ENFPs are more socially extroverted when they want to be.
Maybe that could be a case.
In the same way for introverted functions with INTP and ESTP. Huh.
What does that mean?
I don't know. ENFPs have great chat about MBTI. I love ENFPs. They share my need for fun. Eric, did you listen to MF Doom? No, not yet.
Is he talking about like positive and negative TI or whatever, that kind of shit? I think that's what he's getting at.
Yeah, I don't put any credence in plus and minuses for those things, and I can explain exactly why too. Because if you think about TI as having a plus or minus function, being negationary or affirmational, basically, it's the only way I've ever heard it explained.
Something like that.
And the fact is, you can use TI just as well, and everybody does, to both affirm or negate, and it's a single tool. There's no two forms of it in that fashion. I know this because of debate. That's what debate does. You affirm sometimes, you negate sometimes. It's structurally different as an argumentational format, but it's not a different attentional manner or a different version of an attentional manner.
But as an anecdotal example, at least, I am noticing myself a much greater tendency to negate than to affirm.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean, well, because TI works naturally as a negationary function, and so even when you're affirming things, you're using TI in the sense that you're predicting out what can be defensible and trying to make those claims that are of limited scope and stuff, and so that way you can avoid the negationary aspect of TI. TI is fundamentally negationary, as that's what it is. It says, I'm going to parse away what's wrong.
So what's different from ENTP then? Is it because you have more of an inclination to use TI creatively or something to actually?
I mean, there's not really much difference between INTP or ENTP in their approaches. The only difference is, like in debate, INTP wants to, because it got any of the tool function, they want to spike everything out. And INTP has an instinct to spike everything out. Like, if I'm going to go run a case and I'm an INTP, my case is going to be comprised of a bunch of arguments that are anticipatory to prevent you from making this kind of response or that kind of response. They're less, they tend to make less bold claims, and they have less of a clear-cut avenue of attack. They debate like water, so they try to avoid being pinned down to things that are substantial and let themselves get pinned down to things that are insubstantial. Landrick says, I don't get the plus minus stuff either. I'm going by energy level. Basically, I mean similarity in the amount of stickiness each function has regarding how long you'll attend by it. Huh. Interesting notion, Landrick. I have to think about that a little bit more. And I'm just over here like, what is fun? What do I think is fun? Why do people say INTJs are rational and logical? They're very impractical and out of touch with reality and live in an intuitive, ideal world which doesn't even exist. That's my experience with them. Well, because other people, when they encounter the logic and practicality of INTJs, they probably do so in the context of coming to them for a solution. If you go to an INTJ for a solution to a specific problem, they are very practical and logical. The thing is, they're not necessarily rational and logical, though. You got to remember there's two kinds of logic. There's a logic of the various individual dynamic systems of the world. logic of how this organization works or that machine works or whatever else. And then there's a universal logic of justification. They're not going to be very rational in terms of universal logics of justification or in terms of words, in the sense that they don't believe everything has to withstand TI muster in order to be of value. They think that things have to be effective at accomplishing their goals to be of value. So they're rooted in their third slot FI in that regard. And that might be why you view them as out of touch with reality or something. They are attached very much to their FI understanding, their FI experience of their NI and TE expression of self. Eileen Arbus here and says hi and offers an open palmed hand with blue thing on either side of it. Blue, that's indicative of a wave. Is INTP the hardest type for you to go against in debates, Eric? Well, I mean, consistently the hardest person I've ever had to debate against on a regular basis as an adult was an INTP for sure. She was also, like me, a foreign policy debater, and she was also a former California state champion. Same time period I debated, she was state champion. She was my assistant coach, and then my partner in what do you call it? In a endeavor, you might say, or undertaking. I debated with her about all kinds of different things, sort of actual stuff that we were arguing about usually, but sometimes more real debate topics and stuff. I'll put a link up for a couple of the things with Kimball. She was a challenge for me. Obviously, she'd beat me, I'd beat her, whatever. We were pretty neck and neck, and it was more or less impossible for me to ever expect to win anything when I didn't have some sort of rhetorical slope advantage. In other words, it's always easier to win when you're right. And there's a circular logic here which says basically that which is easier to win is more right, and that which is more right is easier to win. And it's not really, there's no explanation to exactly which comes first or something, you know? But it is true that people who are more correct find it easier to win a debate than somebody who's less correct. You can always test it by debating against yourself. Are INTJ or INTP more open about their ideas? Which one is more willing to talk about them? INTP, by a large measure. INTJs are willing to talk about their ideas. If you get them going on something that they know about, they can talk about it for quite some time. But INTPs like to talk about their ideas. They feel a lot of satisfaction in getting them out. And in general, they get a lot of satisfaction in having their genius drawn out of them for some useful purpose by other people. INTPs are not very self-motivated, right? So they do feel a great deal of FE and I guess SI satisfaction in if somebody comes to an INTP and says, I've got this complex thing that I need you to help me figure out what the best way to go about doing it is, or something like that. That's right in INTP's wheelhouse. And they're exactly the kind of people who should be consulted about shit. The thing is, most people aren't very into consulting other people. I've noticed this in myself. I'm learning increasingly as I get older to be more consulty. For most of my life, most TI people, TI high up, think they know best. They're using a deliberation function as their dominant or second function. They figure that they can think about it and come to the conclusion, and they know best about everything. Because they're able to parse out the words themselves and figure out which person's right or which argument is best based on rhetorical slope and all the stuff I've already talked about, right? But so well served whenever I consult people. If I consult the right kind of people, and if I ask advice for certain kinds of things. Spacey's probably not the best person to ask in terms of like necessarily some of the TE things that I sometimes ask him about. Like there's some kind of TE shit that requires just basic specialized knowledge, and or there's kind of a basic right way to do it. And if you're trying to have fun doing it, you're not going to get it right, really. Like my pouring concrete thing, there's not much consultation I can receive from Scott because ultimately what I want to do is play around with concrete. So I don't know why I'm even asking anybody anyway. But on the other hand, I got this notion of project singularity. I've been running ideas by Spacey regarding Project Singularity. And before I'm getting my new laptop on August 15th. It's late, coming a long time after I ordered it, right? But it was super cheap. It's from Walmart, it's refurbished. I got it for $207 or something. And it's basically a new laptop with a good processor, 8 gigs of RAM. And so, anyway, I have to wait a long time for it to get here, though. So, when it does get here, I'm going to be launching this notion of trying to make, for at least a month or two, the channel as purposefully focused as possible on expanding viewership and expanding typing business in particular. So, Spacey's a perfect person to consult about shit like that. Another good person would be an INFJ, potentially, to consult about that. But actually, with something like YouTube, I think an INTP is probably a better person to consult because YouTube has an NI resisting quality to it. It's very difficult to collapse down what the thing to do is. There's so many different ways you can be successful on YouTube and or fail on YouTube. Let me look at some of these things people say. I need an ENTP around to really go ham in an argument. Aren't INTPs slower articulating what they wouldn't, and ENTP get an advantage there? Well, I mean, in any kind of meaningful debate, people have time to think about the topic and argumentation beforehand, right? Whether it's a formal debate or just a topic that you have opinions about. If you're an INTP and you have, say, political opinions, then you've gone through in your head the various arguments for and against, these water conservation laws or something. And so when it comes time to argue them, you're prepared. You've already done the TI in your head. For me, I have too. I've already done the TI in my head for most of it. But the challenge comes, the moment comes when somebody surprises you. ENTPs are the best at being surprised and at surprising other people. Because there's always going to be shit that you didn't think of ahead of time. And you're going to be surprised in some debate rounds. You have to be quick about how to respond. ENTPs are the best at turning shit, turning surprises, turning anything, surprise turning. So you think you got a great case, and all of a sudden one of the pieces turns out to wiggle loose and turn against you and collapse your fucking argumentation chain or something. That's ENTP specialty. But INTPs can do that as well. INTP's specialty is being uncollapsible, basically. Having everything so tightly defined and also limited in its definition that it's impossible to find that one thing to get to wiggle and to get to turn. That's, INTP. All right, let me put this here. Kimball. AUTONOMY. I hope I can find these Kimball videos. Let's see. Let's see. I can't. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find Kimball very easily because I think she asked me not that long ago to take her name out of the video so they wouldn't show up on search results. So I think that's why I can't find it. But anyway, yeah, I have some cool debate videos of me and Kimball throwing down. Pretty interesting. As coaches, we're both coaching. Okay, would you say extrovert thinking is more concerned with accomplishing doing. Where did it go? The extrovert thinking is more concerned with accomplishing, doing, exacting, etc. Introvert thinking is more understanding analysis. Well, I mean, extrovert thinking is concerned with the how of something, which links more naturally with a why and a what. Like, why you want to know how, and what are you trying to do, basically. But the understanding and analysis is definitely true for introverted thinking. Extrovert thinking is naturally going to be more about problem solving because the process of extrovertly thinking is a process of trying to come to understand a unique dynamic system of physical nature in some regard. Even if it's a metaphysical system, it's you're trying to understand its physicalities as they manifest. So, for example, if I'm coming up with a set of protocols for an organization to try to limit the amount of data loss that occurs, um, then I'm going to be measuring my outcomes against actual world manifestations. That's an example of why extroverted thinking seems to link more to accomplishing, doing, exacting, etc., is because it is a solvency based function. It's always looking for problems to solve or things to attain. That doesn't mean actually the doing part of shit is part of TE. And that's why you'll see lots of INTJs, for example, are not particularly accomplishing or doing. They tend to get stuck in something in their own little world in their room, and they have maybe their own project they're working on in secret. They don't really show anybody. You don't know what they're getting accomplished, if anything. There are plenty of those kind of INTJs out there. So it's important to note that the SE is the doing, the following through, executing, the making concrete into the actual physical world. That part is the SE following through on what you have a TI path that has been determined as sort of an algorithm, and then but yeah, introvert thinking is definitely about understanding analysis in the sense that it's about conditional logic, exclusivity, and language specifically, or languages. Let's see. Which types are known to seek instant gratification, such as shopping, sex, food, copy, drugs, in response to their problems? Anybody, I think, with function in the 1 or 2 slot. So INTPs, INFPs, ENTPs, ENFPs, ESFPs, ESTPs, ISTPs, and ISFPs. All of those types are drug and alcohol prone because of the action functions. A good way to increase viewership might be to have more popular YouTubers or to be interviewed by those with larger audiences. Yeah, that's a good thought. It's considered hereby tossed into the singularity plan that's currently being talked out, I guess. I think INFJ are kind of hard to give non-practical advice to, though. That's all I get anyway. INFJs being hard to give non-practical advice to has to do with their polar TE. Any non-practical advice? That doesn't make sense. Practical advice makes sense. Hi, Eric. I hear the stars are messing with you. Yeah, the stars are indeed messing with me. Sinjin says I'm hard as fucking indeed. Just to give non-practical advice to. No. Yes, I don't like non-practical advice as much. I prefer realistic analysis, solutions, loopholes. Loopholes? Let's see. The thing is, at the top level of debate, as far as INTPs, INTJs, and ENTPs are the 3 types who are the best at it. Like, if you look at national champions year after year, almost always is going to be one of those 3 types. But um, sometimes there are other types that pop into the mix as well. For example, one of the best coaches in the country, my former assistant coach, he's an ESTJ. Can you do a Polar Party video part 2 sometime? That was a great video. Polar Party, huh? I'll have to go check that one out. I see I'm just talking about everybody's polars. so clogged. Can you remind me of something unclog this?
All right.
Unclog! You did it. It almost cost you everything, but you did it. But you will never take our freedom! Truly, that was a heroic, civilization-preserving bone rip.
I see polar my left testicle.
Right. That's when you know you've really pulled a big rung rip when it's referred to as civilization-preserving.
Right.
If somebody can't pull this bone rip, we're all gonna die! When did you get interested in types, Eric? Well, I actually just was sort of reading shit on the internet one day and made a video about being an ENTP when I was first learning about cognitive functions. Like, I didn't really know anything about it. I was looking at the internet page going, oh, so I just found out about this cognitive function thing, and I'm an ENTP, and so I had already known I was an ENTP, but I didn't know about cognitive functions. So there's a big gap of time between learning in Myers-Briggs and learning about cognitive function for me. Anyway, that video did better than most of and all of the other videos I'd ever made before. So it made me want to do more videos on the topic, which generally did better than videos that weren't on the topic and still do. So that's why, basically. And then I started thinking about it, learning about it, doing mugity meow. Okay, I just changed the water yesterday. We smoke a lot of weed around here. Clean the glass, though. Does Spacey play puzzle games a lot? Spacey, do you play puzzle games?
Not really, no. I prefer to just mindlessly kill shit. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Has anyone here met an INFP that smokes? Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of them.
Cigarettes. She'll smoke weed sometimes, but generally cigarettes.
One or the other. Any intuitive perceiver seems to smoke something.
We must secure the existence of our kush and a future for stoner children. Hambone says. I agree. Now, this next question is going to receive an answer that may disappoint some people. Some of the more strictly rationalist thinking amongst you might be disappointed by this upcoming exchange. BB Poison asks, was buying the cheapest laptop TE practicality? Well, frankly, BB Poison, the reason I ended up getting that laptop, well, sure, it was a particularly good deal and cheap, except I had to wait such a long time for it to arrive. But I looked around at the other ones, and they weren't much less time to arrive. You know, it's like it'd be get here a few days faster. And then I realized that the one that was taking a long time to arrive, it was the cheapest, that it was going to arrive on August 15th. Now, I just learned the day before that August 15th is the end of retro shade in astrology, a period which we are currently in. So I figured the Slavs wanted me to get that one, so I got it. I was Dr. Phil. Listen, Dr. Phil said it was buying the cheapest laptop. I was gonna gladly spend $20 or $30 more if I could have found one that was basically the same thing, paid $20 or $30 more to get it shipped to me within a couple of days. I would have gladly done that. I couldn't find it anywhere. So, I didn't look forever. So then the Slavs just spoke to me. But right now they're speaking to me through astrology. It's not because astrology is particularly good or anything. It's just because the Slavs speak to one through whichever language they choose. How do hams get stoned? Where do they inhale? Through the ham bone, of course. And Gintier. How to ham... that part confuses me. Internet definitions often equated with values. I'm pretty sure everyone values something, regardless of how conscious they are. But so that doesn't inherently define anything. Clayton McCovert, the best definition of FI is an interested calculus, and TI is a disinterested calculus. So if to calculate a given matter, you go And pretend as though I have no interest in this and I don't know any of the people involved. What would make for a good? What's the most fair outcome here? Who's correct? Who's actually right and who's actually wrong? And I'm going to judge it objectively, fairly. That's TI. FI says, well, let me put myself in the other person's shoes and see how they would feel if I did, if that, how would I feel if that were me, kind of thing. That's FI. So, for example, Tracy and I were talking this morning that there's a serious problem with U.S. foreign policy is that it lacks FI. At no point do legislators go, well, if we were Iran and Iran were Iran were the U.S. If it were the other way around, and we were getting these sanctions for wanting to have a nuclear program, how would we respond to it? What would we think? How would that make us feel? We'd feel defiant. We'd feel like, fuck you. We'll make a nuclear program if we want to. Who the fuck are you to have a big nuclear program and then say, nobody else may have one now. Nobody else may learn this knowledge or use these things. It's like that's how we'd feel, right? So, how are they going to feel? Is that going to be a productive thing that actually provokes the response that we want, or is it going to provoke the opposite response? There's a lack of FI in our foreign policy awareness in that regard. So, I think the point is now TI might say, well, but look, these countries are bad and they're violating these things. They're violating human rights. We can't support them in some way. You can make a bunch of arguments in favor of it, but it's still basically a TE-based thing. It assumes solvency. It assumes that the effort, the leverage that we put is going to produce energy where we think it's going to. Like we can channel the energy of leverage, but we can't necessarily. All right, so do SE polar have trouble? People have trouble understanding that time is passing in the moment. Yeah, well, they don't get the power of now at all. So there was an exchange between the okay. So let me set the table here. Kimberly is SE ignoring. Tracy is SE polar. I'm SE 8 slut.
Time for a lesson.
The other day we were sitting on the porch, and we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about this gate fence project thing that has been up in the mix for quite some time. And Kimberly and I had a little conflict about it, and it's like, God damn it, Kimberly, this gate idea of yours is silly. It's like she keeps wanting to whine about, well, I haven't moved the fence in the gate yet, but we've got a million other projects in there. Yeah. So basically, we're all sitting there, and Spacey's like, hey, I can do this thing, and I'm just waiting for somebody to say, here are the materials, get to it. And she's like, okay, well, great, well, we'll do it then, blah, blah, blah. And then Kim's like, but Eric's gonna be mad if we. I'm like, I'm not gonna be mad. Do what the fuck you want. Okay, they had this big conversation about that. But my point is, if they were really gonna do it, they would have just not had that conversation and just gotten up and done it. But ignoring and polar, that's not gonna happen. So, it didn't. Nothing happened, of course. Has cannabis affected your cognitive functions in AHP? Doesn't it ruin your TI a little bit? No, not at all. I would say it makes my SI a little bit shaky sometimes. Like I'll maybe forget a train of thought in the middle of it a little more easily than I might otherwise. But it also allows me to focus. So part of the issue I have is my NE is skidding all over the place, right? It's always bouncing from thing to thing. And pot slows me down a little bit so that I get able to lock onto a given topic or channel of attention that produces some sort of outcome more. The other thing is sometimes in the morning I wake up, I'm going to be in a state of meow. I can be sort of looking at Google News, just scrolling up and down it, not wanting to really click any links in it even, but just sort of like thinking about the link that I might click and just feeling kind of meow, Smoking weed settles me in, and then I started reading some articles and shit. Michael Thompson says, I think in that situation I would fix the fence because I could tell Kim wanted mentor, not because I felt I need to get it done. She wanted mentor? Oh, me too. Oh, well, you see, I don't know if you've ever been with an ISFJ, Michael Thompson, but Kimberly wants me to do lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff. So I'm fine with giving her some of those tasks. I do lots and lots of things for her. I follow up on lots of her projects. We put her projects down. I end up doing all the work on them. She's really particular about it and not very nice, and you know. Uh, but oh, Michael Thompson, yeah. Well, it could be fourth slot FE Michael Thompson. That could be third slot FE too. I always liked that a lot more. At the beginning, I was happy to do things that she needed my help in because it made me feel, like a good, helpful man. Like, I'm helping. I'm a woman. I don't know how to do this, and I'm gonna help you. That whole thing. But over time, I realized, like, okay, well, this is what it means to be somebody's FE tool function. It's she's really TE polar. She wants to anything she doesn't already know how to do. She wants me to do it, basically, which is fine. But there's we have to find a balance, basically. So are ISFJ prone to being pretty dependent? Yeah. And ENTPs are prone to wanting somebody who's dependent because we have no confidence in FI. Do you think it's easy for you to narrow down someone's MBTI type just from analyzing their looks, appearance, and style? No, not for me. For some people it would be easy, but those aren't things that I use enough to. So I would have to say no. I wouldn't be able to do that. It might be possible, but not for me. I have to talk to him. I have to hear him talk. Then it can be pretty straightforward. Like the guy across the street, it became pretty obvious to me that he was an ENFP after I started talking to him. Now you could say, based on his house, he's got a funky place. He's got like a little wooden house thing on the back of his car, and he's got lots of house plants. He's got a green thumb, but you don't need that many hanging plants, kind of a thing. So anyhow, I probably could have, if I had thought about it, guessed, but I never do that kind of shit. I don't think about that because it's not a cognitive function, I guess. I don't know. My taste in clothes is pretty non-existent. My taste in clothes is whatever Kimberly puts in for me to wear. Would you describe INFJs as having similar dependency problems? No. Because INFJs are very they're controlling about their metaphysical independence. Not necessarily their physical, but they wouldn't. INFJs are a lot more detached than ISFJs. And INFJs are prone to, once they collapse something down with their NI all the way, then, hey, this thing's been collapsed, it's collapsed, that's all there is to it. There you go. Yeah, that's how I know I'm not that young. The generation younger than me is easily offended. Really? I'm wrongly diagnosed with Asperger's. Heard this happens quite often with some types. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's so fucking stupid.
I actually worked with real autism. When I worked with the county, I had autistic students who actually had autism. And these people that they're saying are Asperger's or autism spectrum, they're not even on this ad spectrum. Like, INTPs are not remotely on the spectrum. INTJs, you can make the argument, they bear resemblances to the spectrum, right? But INTPs don't even bear resemblance to it. It's like they've jumped from the fact that that INTJs are one kind of awkward, and they're kind of like autism, so they're kind of like Asperger's. Um, to INTPs are a different kind of awkward, but because they're also awkward and introverted, they must also be autism and Asperger's. Is fucking insanity, absolute insanity. So if you're an INTP and somebody's telling you you're Asperger's or autism spectrum or something like that, they have no fucking concept of what that is. That spectrum links to FE polar with probably NI rather than SI usually. So it links kind of like to the same attentional manners as INTJs, and extremely NI INTJs, you could argue maybe approach something called Asperger's-iness. But I mean, you could say that the extremely NI heavy INTJs and Asperger's syndrome are the same thing. But autism is something different. It involves cognitive delays, cognitive deficits that most of the people that are put on the spectrum don't have at all. So I don't know. It's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. What type is prone to being bipolar? I would guess probably like ESFPs. I don't know. Hanging tear. I called someone's mother a whore the other day. He got offended. Come on. Just think we're getting you little millennial Gen Z crybaby. Where's the proof? Proof, Engant here. Proof, I demand it, says Hambone. Eileen Arva, but now I'm retired because of this shit. No way out. Introverted thinker. Woohoo, Aspie party. Yeah, Aspie party indeed. Only somebody with autism would spell party that way, Susie. A certain website, which I won't mention. Okay. INTP is prone to being bipolar. Let me tell you. No, they're not. What does that mean, bipolar, anyway? Just being manic and depressive? Having periods of activity and periods of rest? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that inherently. A lot of the shit that is perfectly normal and reasonable, the only thing that's bad about it is that we feel shame about it that's been imposed upon us by other people. There's a lot of shit like that. Not everything, but there's definitely a lot of shit like that. I wonder if you refrain from making judgments visually because A-slot SE and making judgments using any for MBTI. Yeah, I make judgments using any SITI NI, basically. SI, the more I do, the more typings I do, the better I get at it. And the fewer mistakes I make, and the more times I'll almost make a mistake, work through it. I usually don't end it feeling unsatisfied. But a lot of times in the middle, I'll be confused, and then it'll come clear. I think that's ignoring NI probably, but it helps me to. I basically pack away those NI things into SI algorithms that get triggered by similarities as I type people again going forward. I remember how it played out. Sometimes I'll note things where I was ignoring this thing that was right in front of my face. So ignoring NI is a real like I get what it is. I get how it's a deficit. You know, there's a lot of occasions when I should have figured it out 20 minutes ago, or I must. If I had looked at, it's like if I had looked over there for a second, I would have figured it out 20 minutes ago, kind of shit. You know. Did someone ring the awkward bell and summon me? Winston's mom, you're not awkward. You're wonderful. I like you a lot. You have wonderful things to say. I like your comments. Oh, church village people who are sitting on this porch are waiting a song of wisdom. Well, no, there's nobody out there on the porch waiting songs of wisdom. I'm curious as to what the genetic component of type is. I don't think anyone's given type is randomly selected, and I wonder if there could be a way to track certain family lineage indicators. I'm curious about it too. I have no particular theories about it. It's one of the things that would just be random speculation without some concrete data, and I have no such data. And the only thing that I have, from my own experience and observations, is the clear suggestion that types determined very, very young. I feel as though my daughter was the same personality at birth, basically, as she is now. I don't feel like she's ever changed her personality or determined one or the other. I mean, you can't really tell if she's TI or FI when she's an infant, obviously, but you sort of can. Like you can see how, oh, this was the baby form of this, and this was, everyone in here is Sad Gahuru on YouTube and INFJ. I don't know who Sad Gahuru is. How is your Abraham? Asks Winston's mom.
Oh, Sadhguru, he's like some Indian dude he's an actual like kind of religious leader, like a priest of some sort, kind of. And they're allowed to smoke a bunch of weed, and they just pass on wisdom to people. Like they all gather before them and ask them questions about like the meaning of life and shit.
Is he sad? Is that what it's called? Sad Gahuru?
No. It's an Indian word, I think. It's spelled SADH.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
I want everyone to play it very safe. This is not over. Please take precautions, and please have your fight or flight instinct. Have a plan. The bad guys will. Oh, you're talking about all those shootings, huh? Weren't you saying that like a week ago or something? When did you start saying that? Did you start saying that before the shootings? Like Osho. What's Osho? I don't know what that is. I remember your suggestion at Winston's mom, says Susie. He's typeable by looks. Who's Sad Gahuru? Hambone needs a pickle. A dill pickle, and that would be a good song. Hambone and dill pickle. With the mustard. Dr. Phil, crying, laughing. Yes, sweet Susie, I knew you would. Do you look at the moon first, or do you look to the stars? Huh. There have been a lot of shootings. I haven't really been reading about it. It's depressing, so I tend to avoid things that are depressing. I gotta get a cigarette. Where are my cigarettes? Did I leave them up front? Spacey, can you entertain the people for a minute while I go get my cigarettes?
Sure.
Okay. Entertain the people begin now.
Hey, people. Any questions? I think Sadhguru is probably an ENFP, yeah. Eric and Kim are the best parents ever. They're kind of like what I used to with all of like the fighting and the arguing and shit, but like they totally get me, Thanks. I'm glad you like my shirt. I love it too. And they also just feed me all the drugs that I want. And they don't judge me. Am I? Not really. I usually don't let it get much longer than this because it starts getting all curly and it looks like I got pubes all over my face and it's really fucking gross. And then I gotta grow it like way longer for it to actually look good again. And I don't feel like putting in that much effort. So, I kind of leave it in between scruff and a short beard like this. I think Dario Nardi was maybe onto something, but in the end, he ended up not even supporting what he came up with. So, I don't know. I think he was on the right track. We need some way to like scientifically prove some of what we're theorizing at some point, ideally. But whatever. Are you back?
I mean, look. The interesting thing is how much how much resistance there is to accepting the kind of proof that there is to it. You know, it's some basic kind of laws of reality that if you attend to one thing most of the time or in one way most of the time, that you're not attending through some other means an equivalently small percentage of the time. There's a concrete and finite number of hours during the day in a given lifetime. And that it's true that some people spend a lot of time considering something before making a decision. And some people jump at things and are too impulsive and make decisions before they've considered enough. And that is a consistent personality trait to that person, right? If you start to articulate some of the realities of that every human being should know observationally from experience, just being a person in the world, you can begin to whittle away at resistance to the notion because it it is founded upon observational truths that aren't really subject to any critique because they're not making any kind of bold claim at all. They're just saying, this obvious. If the tree's here, it's not over there. The same tree's not also over there. It's in one of those two places and not both. And is polar SI often equated with a dog shit memory? Well, I think there are a couple of kinds of memory, Clayton. One of them is kind of an instrumental memory, remembering things that you need to remember, the takeaways from experiences. People with strong NI can have very effective kind of that memory. But if you ask them the details of an experience, they won't be able to recall that. On the other hand, an SI person will be much more able to recall or at least articulate a bunch of details from an experience and probably not be as good about remembering shit like symbols and stuff. So, for example, Kimberly's been around all this jargon, all these 2-letter codes and 4-letter codes and whatever for the entire duration of our relationship. She still doesn't really know what FE versus TI versus FI versus SI versus SE. She still doesn't really know. She wants me to explain it again and again and again. Now she's got shit ass memory in terms of learning symbolic code shit, basically. Because it requires her to work a lot to do it. She's got to apply her TI, which is third slot, and to a certain extent, probably her NE to conceptualize the new concepts or whatever. But so it's not something she's used to attending to. She calls it nerd stuff. She thinks it's boring nerd stuff when we get to TI about the whole thing. On the other hand, she'll remember details from experiences that happened to her long ago that indicate that obviously that experience is more present in her ontology than my old experiences are present in my ontology. Thank you, Tim Bulware, for noting my beard as classy. Appreciate it. I think there's genetic component. Is polar SI, why are some types more prevalent than others? I don't know, Michael Thompson. I wish I knew the answer to that question. I'm going clean shade. I don't have even really much of a hypothesis. All the answers are unsatisfying. You could say something like, well, that's how many we need or whatever, but that doesn't, what? Like, that doesn't explain anything. I'm going clean shave, more girls smile at me this way. Well, Angantir, you probably have a prettier face than me. I definitely am better off with more beard in general. And we'll grow this out again a little bit. I went a little, it looks like here, I went a little overboard on this area, but actually it's because this is lighter color hairs. Let me see, let me trickle the light in this. Yeah, it is. Do we really need a lot of INFJs? Probably not. I mean, think about, well, I don't know. INFJs probably don't think we need a lot more people in the world like them. They probably think I can fill the role for lots of people. If you take a look at the female INTJ I look like her. The male INTJ island, he could be my brother. There is physicality, in my opinion, and experience, and with the law of small numbers applied, 50% is genetic, 50% upbringing, so half nature, half nurture. Well, I mean, I don't think something like this can be that, unless you were saying like genetics determine your dominant function and your fourth, but upbringing determines your second and third. Okay, that then okay, then it could be that. But if it's either determined genetically, in which case it's not determined by upbringing, it's determined prior to upbringing, and you're an expression of your type is going to be reflective of whether your upbringing was conducive to your being or non-conducive to your being, basically, and to the extent to which it was non-conducive to your being. Part of Kimberly's challenges as a person in an increasingly healthy relationship have been, her challenges have been overcoming the fact that she had an environment that was strongly not conducive to her ontology. It's like she had her, I guess her supervisor type is her mother. Jacoby, do you think animals have the same personality types as humans? Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't make the argument, but yeah, I do basically. But I wouldn't try to defend the claim. I was always like I am today. Nothing my mother tried could ever change this. Yeah, that's how it is. You know, I had an environment that was especially conducive to my ontology. My father was my benefactor type, and my mother is my dual. 3 weeks ago, and I left messages scattered everywhere I watch over my pupils. How can you spot NI in an animal? Well, like an NI, a more NI cat would presumably hunt less often and be successful more because they they know exactly the moment they know better when a possible prey object is worth investigating further, and they know more successfully when to jump. Now, they may not be very good at actually grabbing it once they got it. So maybe it's like they'd also have more like unforced errors where they let go and they go, whoops, my mouse got away. Like an NI Dom cat would be very successful at like almost all of the hunts he did go on would involve some sort of contact with the thing, and he probably wouldn't have to jump more than once, let's say. But on the other hand, the any heavy cat would initiate a bunch of hunts all over the place, and some of them would be highly improbable, but will result in some kind of crazy weird thing where the cat ends up catching the thing anyway. But most of them would be losses, but then some of them would be successful anyway. And the cat would gradually better and better and better at it. Whereas I guess over time with the NI cat, they probably develop their SE some. Maybe they need their dual cat to to provide them the SE they need. They need their ESTP dual cat. So it's definitely the case that some cats are more social than others. Like our cat Violet is pretty antisocial. She doesn't really hang out with the other cats. She doesn't want to really spend time with them. Occasionally, she spends time a little bit with Mason, but you know, she's kind of like enemies with PP, and then Mason is the super friendly cat, and he gets along with all of the other cats. He's the one who's friends with the kittens first. He's one who's friends with Violet and with PP, and he's friends with me. He's friends with Spacey. He's friends with Chem. He's very much like an ENFJ kitty. He he's not attached to the particularist FI to his raising his raiser and mother, Kimberly. He's very democratic in his loving in that regard.
I need a drink. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you do. Don't accept to be dehydrated, Spacey. That's what they say.
Dehydration is for the lower class.
If you could bring me a soda, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. You got it.
What do you think about the concept of looping between dominant and tertiary functions? I don't know what that means. Looping between the dominant and tertiary functions. Well, I mean, I think the concept of looping is kind of secondary to a more basic concept here, which is it's true that functions work in coordination with another function sometimes in kind of a what Megabro would call quark code. What do you call it? Quark code? And it's this code he has that expresses various expressions of being in terms of combinations of TE, FE, FI, or whatever, in a chemistry-like fashion, okay? Which I think is pretty damn cool, and would probably be integrated into any actual simulation along with the framework that I've come up with. That would probably be a good way to integrate, to actually have things produce like authentic expressions of ontology. Yeah, that's too hard to say all this stuff. So, for example, NEF, FE looping, you might say, well, it's a stretch time when I'm making a lot of jokes and reacting to things like, hey, here I am. I'm that funny guy. I'm that friendly guy who's interacting with you. I'm in one of those kind of moods, you know? That's, you could say, is a, thanks, dog. You my homie, dog, and you my dog, homie.
No problem, my nigga.
In other words, it's biconditional. You both my dog, homie, and my homie, dog. It's biconditional. It's like an if and only if.
Shit.
Yeah. Your homie dog status is biconditional.
My homie dog status is biconditional.
It'd be a good chorus for a rap song.
Right.
Like it's kind of like a jump ropey quality to the
jump
rhythm.
ropey quality to it.
Yeah. Your homie dog status is biconditional. 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 Your homie dog status is biconditional. Oh, if and only if. Let's see here. Eric is the house of typology. Thank you. Rita Sousa. Yes, let's talk about cheese. Sheila W. Active and stylish. You should run a channel makeover live stream for the youngish. My name's Sheila, and I'm here to tell all you younger people how you should look different. Okay? Right now, you've totally got the wrong look. Hey, you watching this video, your makeup's all wrong. You got lipstick on your eyes and eyeshadow on your cheeks and cheek shadow on your lips. What time is it where you are, Eric? It's 4:57 p.m. in the afternoons. You're too old to be a beauty guru? You're never too old to be a beauty guru, Sheila. Really, beauty guru. It's good. It's got a lot of year in it, you know. Sheila is Sheila Label from today on. What? Kijo Dopico Brie blue cheese. I like to get blue cheese dressing on my salad. I'm not going to deny it. When asked at the restaurant, what kind of dressing do you like? Sometimes they'll say, do you have blue cheese? Because, they default to ranch these days. Blue cheese isn't as common as it used to be. Sometimes they'll say, no, we only have ranch. And I'll say, okay, I'll get ranch. For some reason, when I look at Sheila, I imagine she'd make us all a pie and give us a place to stay in the rain. Those are pretty good country lyrics right there. Would you make us all a pie? Would you give us a place to stay in the rain? I'm wondering why you've left your family, Lorraine. It's like a sad song, you know. I'm eating pizza with blue cheese dressing as you speak. Well, good. That's sure to cause stomach problems. I'm not sure what that means in regards to her type or my type in relation to hers. I don't know either. And then make us all laugh while we ate her pie, pie, pie. I love pie. Pie, no, but you can stay in my brain. Rainy brain. No, I'm Azorian. You are not from the Azores. Rita Sousa, are you really from the Azores? You're not from the Azores. Who's Azorian? Have you ever met anybody from the Azores?
No. What?
She said she's Azorian. I'm not buying
I'm
it.
about to look it up, but I think it's bullshit. Maybe from a fantasy universe or something.
No, it's a real place.
Oh, okay.
British Azores.
Oh, okay, cool.
But
I mean,
she's
hey, I'm willing
not
to believe it. I don't know.
Azorian. There's no actual Azorians
Can you give
in
us?
the world.
Can you give us some kind of proof?
She says she is.
Like link us to a picture that proves it. I don't know.
This is me holding an Azorian flag.
No, like
in
here's
the
a
capital city of Azor.
no, like here's a landmark or something that's only found in Azor or whatever, right? You take a picture of it with like a timestamp. I don't know.
He's asking a lot of you.
Yeah, with some real evidence.
He really wants you to.
Because the odds of you being Azorian are so slim.
From Azor. How many people are in Azor? British Azores. Peter Dennis's screen says 24. Mine says 40. Hi, Eric. Love the Type Police theme tune and your fire hose Minuteman fan. Guilty. I would say that Double Nickels on the Dime is one of my the foundational influences, maybe. I'm more of a Minuteman fan than a fire hose fan. But yeah, I'm feeling you, dog. I'm feeling you. It's funny. I just listened to Double Nickels on the Dime again for the first time in a long time, maybe 2 weeks ago. A little bit of it, flipping through the songs. But the problem was, I think Kimberly was in the car or something, so she didn't really want to hear it. It doesn't age that well, but it's like some of it ages really well, and some of it ages not that great. And I don't know. I wish that guy had survived to develop as a songwriter. He needed to age into his 40s, you know? It's a good question. Do you think using your TV to raise a kid will make them more likely to be an SE user if nurture is part of the equation? I don't think so. It's night here. My picture would be shit. Sup, ho. Sup, Taylor. Down with the bass. Every time I see you, I remember I have a task I need to do. I will do it. So maybe I'll get Spacey to help me do it after I'm done with this live stream. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Good advice, Hero Lamb. I read a lot as a child until I discovered video games. Saying it here. I both read a lot and played a lot of video games. I read until middle school, at which point I read and played video games. I played the Dungeons and Dragons video games, the ones with swords and wizards and stuff like that. Winston's mom offers the hilariously helpful suggestion. Susie, try using Google Translate. Maybe your screen is using Norway numbers. What is your money called? It's called Norwegian dollars, of course. What did I miss? Says Sari Yogi. Eileen Arva, watching you from Germany. Sarah, you missed a lot. You missed an hour and 10 minutes of nothing but pure gold. I had a dream I kissed a girl. Did you think you like it? Don't let your dreams be dreams. Get them all like Shia LaBeouf. Dr. Phil, if this is Taylor, I love and admire you. You're my supervisor. That was a joke or an attempt at one, Susie. Where's his mom? I love and admire you too, Dr. Phil. Yo, Taylor, said Senjen. Yes, manifest reality. My money's called 69 geysers. Down with the bass. A fire hose reference. Ignore it. Did she kiss you back? Hi, Guru. Yeah, she seemed pretty happy. KMB Photography. How do you post a picture here anyway? You can't, right? No, you can't. I believe you, Rita Sosa. I just posted a new video. Check it out if you haven't. Okay, I will check it out. Everybody check it out. Um, why do you believe she is from Germany? I didn't really not believe you're from British Azores. It's just a pretty cool place to be from. Nobody's Azorian. Who gets to say they're Azorian? You must fucking get a kick out of that, huh? You want to type to childhood tendencies. Puberty being most telling, people with less SE start staying inside more and more. Lol, what? Could be true, Ham. I watched a video today. You were driving past places and everyone was waving at you. Everyone waves at Taylor when they drive places? That's cool. Every kid social media game like a fiddle. That's definitely the real Dr. Phil in the chat. Oh, yeah, it is for sure. We also get Donald Trump around here, so, we got a lot of famous people coming right now. Alles gut und viel Spab. What in the hell is that letter? That's the strangest capital B I've ever seen. Dr. Phil at Flow State. Mix this chat up. Throwing matches at Taylor. The Azores. Lodges is amazing and hot. Lodges. Is it still called British Azores or just called the Azores? What type do you think you were before realizing you are ENTP? Me? I immediately knew I was ENTP. When I first encountered MBTI stuff, I just read type descriptions and saw, and I'm just like, well, I'm obviously an ENTP. And I thought it explained a lot. I was like, boo, this explains so much. And now I know what's wrong with me. I'll mix it up. We butchered 37 chickens and I spent all day grinding chicken to freeze. Cool. Sounds good. The Navy owns the planes and Air Force owns the base. The Army owns the boats. The NTJs understand INFPs? I mean, there will always be conflict between tool NI and demonstrative NI, but they can probably find common ground and get things accomplished. What if there are only ESTP and scared ESTPs? You mean in all of the world? I mean, I don't think not being SE is being scared. Jaw odor, Dr. Phil. Social media didn't existed when I was a kid, and the FE game was still good old bullying and cheerleading. Yeah, me too. There's a lot of bullying when I was a kid. I have subject to some of it. I even did a little bit of it myself. Not much, fortunately. That's the harder thing to remember. Just Azores, no the, and no British. Ja alles super und bei der? Question mark. Feed something like cats and dogs and throw the rest out for the coyotes in the back 40. Rita Sousa, do you know the base? Are we talking about the same area? Oh, yeah. We're talking about Area 51. Ach, donkey. I think I got mistyped by another typing channel. I had to do a video. I'm wondering if I should try here. Yeah. Okay, so this superpower is mistyped you based on your 15-minute video submission? Shocking. No! He didn't get it right? Yeah, basically I'll talk to you for over an hour. At least an hour. I'm going to switch up the time now. Officially, formally, it's going to be a 60-minute session. You can always run a little over. I need to start changing that on the thing.
I mean, it's run over 75 usually.
Yeah, but sometimes you haven't really been here for one of the ones where maybe with you here it won't be so bad. I don't like the ones where I get an INFP and I type down and it's like 40 minutes and I got 20 more minutes of squirming into INFP glare.
Fine, you baby. I don't know. I think we have fun doing it.
Yeah,
we kind of want to. We don't really want it to end yet.
I feel safer with Spacey along with it with an INFP. It's only INFPs that make me uncomfortable. It's one of the clear ways I can type them. Kind of, I start feeling like this squirmy feeling, like oh shit, I might get in trouble or something. So yeah, Nina Willow, Spacey and I'll type correctly. I've done a lot of typings at this point. I know which questions to ask. I know what they mean, the answers mean. I can explain your type to you at the end by saying, here's why you are this and that's something else. I'm interested in answering everybody's questions and, addressing all their concerns and stuff. So, there you go. We have to drive to the big city to an Asian market to buy organs. Mine are on a Franken-trade diet. What is your definition of extroversion and introversion? I mean, it's not a meaningful term. It's not a meaningful term in cognitive functions unless you're talking about it as basically the directionality of a given function as it relates to you. So Spacey's been enlightening and sharing with me some of his insights regarding my extroversion as it plays out in nonverbal ways. The way that I do things in front of me, and before I realize really what it is I'm doing, I have to see it kind of in front of me. I don't think it out much ahead of time or as much as I should usually. That's why I always get things done, do things wrong a few times before I get it right. That's what I was thinking, Michael Thompson. Right on the nose. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like I could still do my normal times, whatever. John Christopher Lestone, I'm an INFP and a fire hose fan. Oh, that's cool. I talked to the farmers in Nashville about this when we went looking a few years ago. Strauss is a German surname. Yes, it is. Many of us who are my father's name is Strauss. My mother's maiden name is Schneider. So it's Strauss. It's German all around. And my grandmother's maiden name is Brandstetter, which is another, I think, Germanish name or like Dutch or something. I don't know. Their judgmental moisture making Eric squirm. I don't even think they're judging me. It's actually, I figured out what it is. It's that they're withholding judgment in the way that they do until they process how they feel about it later on, right? And so that means I'm kind of at a loss. They're also processing it on TI, which is fine. I can be passing the TI thing, but it doesn't click in a way that tells me they're done deliberating about it. It makes me feel comfortable. Instead, I can tell they're still deliberating with their FI, which is an area where I can't even begin to argue on, So I'm kind of lost in the argument, and I never get the FE clarity that I want out of them, that you're doing well, I like you, and I agree with you most of all. They don't tend to agree with me because they're withholding judgment still, because they haven't felt their way through it as well as just thought their way through it. They're thinking, they may agree with the thinking part of it, but they're not going to agree with the general thing I'm saying because until after they felt their way through it, You can tell when someone fakes another type in your typing sessions because they have mistyped themselves and strongly hold to their mistype. Yeah, I can tell. I've had this happen with this one lady that it went a long time. Susie got involved in it. Becky was involved in it. I was involved in it. And she was a young woman who was definitely, clearly an ISFP and really insistent that she was ISFJ, I think, which is an odd thing to insist that for ISFP to insist, but Susie and Becky, I talked to her for a long ass time, and we kept trying to point out that you're definitely FI, not FE. Um, Susie was able to very gently draw it out of her to demonstrate how clearly she was FI, and she didn't do a damn bit of good. She just that one went super long because I like people to be on. I like people to be fully convinced and on my team with this is your type, and for them to go, yes, this is my type. Things that make sense now. I like that response. I almost always get it, but not quite always. One person from whom that was not satisfied with my typing of her and ultimately disagreed was Sheila. So you want to talk about to the other side of the equation and say, well, here's somebody who thinks Eric did it unsuccessfully. She might be willing to tell you whatever that she thinks as to why it was unsuccessful or whether or not it's worth talking to me. But pretty much everybody else I've typed, as far as I can recall, um, has either been satisfied or that one stands out because she wasn't, and we put fucking a yeoman's effort into getting her satisfied, but to no avail. Um, I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear. That's why I refuse to do that. I used to say, I will do that if you tell me ahead of time that you want me to tell you what you want to hear. And I say explicitly, okay, I'm just telling you what you want to hear, right? But actually, I don't think I will do that because it's just, I can't imagine what the value of that would be. Is there a type of function that typically demonstrates a tendency to misplace things? That's probably poor SI because the one thing about SI that we can articulate is pretty hardy truth about it is um, keeping track of your existing resources. INFP tend to have far more problems with unhealthy ENTJs and ESTJs and ENTPs. You have nothing to fear. Oh, but yeah, I know they're nice. They're nice. It's a nice supervisor to have. They're very gentle, but that's why I feel it so strongly. And to it, that you know, I don't know. They make me twitchy. I don't know what to say about it. What does it mean if an ENTP is quiet around you? Would that make me an INFP, or can an INFJ make ENTP uncomfortable as well? If an ENTP is consistently quiet around you, um, you'd be much more likely to be an INFP. But if they're quiet around you right now, or you haven't spent a lot of time with them and they just happen to be quiet around you, they may just be in their head thinking about something completely unrelated to you, and it has nothing to do with you at all. That's quite possible. Sometimes that'll happen with me. Kimberly will sometimes think, what's wrong, and or what are you going on in your head about? She'll say something like that, and I'll say, oh, just like, and I'll start to explain something that I'm thinking about, like the way that NI is in the fourth song, and she'll go, never mind, I don't want to hear about it. If you don't have a definition of extroversion and introversion, sure, it's the locus of the attentional renderings, basically. So introverted sensing puts the locus of the attentional renderings internally. Extroverted sensing puts the locus of the attentional renderings externally. Introvert thinking locus is internal. Introvert feeling locus is internal. Introverted intuition locus is internal. In other words, it's possible to use NI about the physical world outside of you. But before you do that, it comes inside, right? Extroverted intuition, it's possible to use it inside, but before it becomes realized as anything meaningful, in order to actually get it out of it, in order to let it do what it needs to do, it needs to get outside of you. And ultimately, the locus, the attentional rendering, whether it's what I'm messing with in the physical world or what I'm messing with mentally, intellectually, I have to put it down on paper and see it and look at it outside of me in order to work with it properly. Whatever it is. And makes me an extrovert. An introvert needs to have it rendered fully internally through whichever introverted function that's their nature in order to feel like they're ready to have something processed. Is that a more satisfying answer? And the definition would be the locus of attentional rendering. External or internal. INFJ will encourage the ENTP to speak. Right, yeah. INFJ and ENTP will start chatting. Hey, my maiden name was Heine? That's funny. But just being in the same area. Sheila W., what type fits you best? I thought you were ISFJ from the videos. I am for sure FI, not FE, says Sheila. The ISFP, question mark, Raffle. People wanted my brother to name his first daughter Ophelia Heine.
What? People wanted to.
Zayla Black's maiden name is Heine. And her brother, therefore,
that would be such an amazing name.
That would be such an amazing name.
That would be a really good porn name.
Ophelia Heine?
Honestly. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing.
Maybe not a name for your daughter, but a good name if you're a porn star.
Yeah. Sheila W says 90% of people see my FI oozing out of my pores. It is true. I will concede the following thing. If there's something that is fairly obvious that I don't agree with or can't see over time, it's more likely to be FI than anything else. So I do have some difficulty sometimes pegging FI. ENTPs are also quite around some ENFPs and ISFPs, some ISTJs, ISFJs, some ESFJs, ESFJs. ENTPs can have quiet periods. It depends what's going on with them, too. If they're forced to deal with their own FI for some reason, they'll fall very quiet. How is Kim's toe and other leg doing? Kim seems to be on the mend in general, and her foot still hurts. Her other leg, I think, is fine. I don't know what with her other leg. Some ENTPs have different moods on different days. I've come to the conclusion I'm quite moody. And the interesting thing is when I was younger, I used to think there's no way I was moody at all, that I was just being responsive to what the world provided me. If the world provided me things as they ought to be, then I wouldn't be upset or bothered by things. And if the world was not being proper, then I would be upset by things. Really, it's not that way. I'm quite moody. And some things can have big impacts on my mood. There are little things during certain time periods which suggest I'm more sensitive in certain time periods than others. It's something I've been sort of noting as a data gathering thing casually, without actually writing anything down, of course. Miadity, mugity, mugity, mia, etc. I am going to go up to here. Is this still live? Yes, Michael Thompson, it is. Attentional renderings. Come up to my loft and see my attentional renderings. We should plan an MBTI female weekend getaway, and then the boys can climb off the ladder and peek in the window. That sounds fun. Eat a Snickers. Do you play any instruments, Sheila W? Honest Eric makes it easy to be creatively silly and still thoughtful. Thanks, Mrs. Baum. I appreciate it. This is what I'm saying, Eric. I was pointing out that ENTPs have different emotions on different days and are different people. It's not necessarily a type thing. I think that's a type thing, though. The fact that it's so variable. It has to do with being polar FI. Because we don't really understand feelings, they happen like weather to us that we're not really paying attention to. But so it's like we'll be wet and not realize that we're standing in the rain, basically. And maybe the reason you feel so weird and not like doing anything, Eric, is because you're sad. Have you thought about that? Why would I be sad? I have no good reason to be sad. Or what about your parent, your mom, or like I'm not focusing on those things right now, but maybe they're underlying. I should think, yeah, maybe they are. You got to watch out for that hunger hand. Absolutely. If I get too hungry, I get very fussy. I get very much, my moods are linked to my SI, whether I've got enough rest, whether I've got enough water. Right now I'm a little thirsty, but I've got this nice soda right here. I just need to remember to drink it. Philosophical thinker asks an interesting question. Is his want for a firm definition more NI or TI? Probably NI but it would depend on what you want to do with it. If you want a definition because you're trying to find an avenue of critique, you're going to use the definition to turn against me, say, aha, now this goes against something you said earlier, and I'm going to show you where you're wrong. And that'd be TI. If you're actually trying to resolve the issue into something that's a singular explanation that you can build other shit around or whatever, then that's NI. Jenny B says, maybe they don't want to scare me because I'm quiet. I don't know. It's just been consistent with me in some ENTPs, but not all. ENFPs bring my FE out more, and ENTP can make me nervous. And once I found Hosteric Online, it became apparent that creative songwriters must be ENTPs. Lou Reed's an INFJ. I don't think the ones you think are ENTPs are ENTPs. I think that it's difficult for ENTPs to put it all together, frankly, and become good songwriters because it requires them to not ignore NI a whole hell of a lot. You got to really embrace their NI. Is that a porn title? A didgeridoo for Spacey? A didgeridoo for Spacey. That'd be a good name for a one-act play, I think.
I think so, yeah.
In which somehow you...
There's a little skit, right?
Short one-act play in which somehow you come upon a didgeridoo. And there's an explanation. Then there's a hot sex scene that's there gratuitously for no reason. And then it's over. If not
didgeridoos are pretty sweet. So are rain sticks or whatever the fuck they're called.
Somebody should form the ridiculously named Ridiculous Instruments Band. Basically, play the hurdy-gurdy, you play the didgeridoo, you play the rain stick. And Red, I draw and doodle and do caricatures. I may try host Eric Spacey and Kimberly someday. That'd be cool.
Oh, is that the guy fucking Lorenz was talking about in the Facebook group, I think?
No, it's just Winston's mom. Not a guy.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, it would become a flute.
Well, whatever.
I'm INTP. Is it normal to always order the same things to eat? I stick more with things I know I love than trying new stuff. Not always, but mostly. I don't know. Is that normal for INTPs? Third slot SI? Maybe.
What?
Is it normal to always want to order the same things to eat at places?
Yeah, I think so.
To stick with things you know you like rather than take the risk of something new?
Well, no, I do like to experiment, though. I love trying new things. But if I'm going to the same restaurant a lot and I've already tried a few of the things on the menu and I'm like, okay, you know what? My intuition was right about this one thing. It's probably the best thing they have here. And I don't come here all the time, so I'm just going to get that.
You want to make sure you have a satisfactory SI experience.
Exactly.
Whereas I have weird relationships with food and SI. Like sometimes it's unpredictable. I don't know. History was number one, says Clayton McOverk, because of the stories, and I could build narratives to fit the characters. Science was cool too because I could experiment. English came naturally, but wasn't that interesting. Last night I dreamed I could play a flute. Today I could play one. My dreaming was super powerful. Yes, I learned to play the flute while dreaming. Math was a pain in the ass. I read tuners at first glance. Tuners. Thank you, right? At Winston. Eileen Arbor, my son is an INTP and he has physical anorexia. His brain did not tell him he's hungry. 6 feet tall, maybe 120 pounds. I'm sure he's not an ENTP. The only time I get weird if my steak is overcooked, off of the cook's head. I fail to prioritize eating on most days until I notice that I'm becoming foggy and indecisive. I usually give in and eat something when I feel persuaded and nausea. Me too, Rowan Morgan. I still do that. I'll note with the first wave of nausea that, I must be really fucking hungry. And it's weird that be a sign of hunger, you know? Still happens. Clayton, did you have a favorite teacher? Have you taken the Yale VARC learning test? Then definitely TI. I was trying to see if it was consistent with Jung's interpretation of the words. First glance, I'd say it is. Peter Dentist, don't buy a ladder from Home Depot while buy it from Goodwill, Charity, and Savings. First glance, I'd say it is. Peter Dentist, don't buy a ladder from Home Depot while buy it from Goodwill, Charity, and Savings. Yeah. Often people who find geometry easy find algebra challenging, and those who find algebra easy find geometry challenging. In regards to geometry versus algebra, which cardinal function does each require? Geometry is TI, algebra is TETISE. The thing that people don't like about algebra, who like geometry, is not that it's hard or that they can't get it, but that it's arbitrary in a way that geometry is not. So, like, algebra, well, why is the order of operations like this? Well, you just have to do it that way. But why, though? Like, it's just you're learning this algorithm of steps you have to execute to get to the right answer. And sometimes there'll be like tricky things in there to make sure you execute the algorithm just right, or things you could trip up on. But there's no creativity in solving any of the problems, whereas geometry offers you creative angle, you know? So yeah, algebra is more TE and geometry is like straight up TINE. I am hungry now. Clayton, do you like homeschooling? Will you go to our local high school for your final year? Algebra made more sense to me, Sheila W. says. Okay, well, it could indicate your FIT, or it could indicate GI third slot. Sous vide is the best way to cook steak. Math is just a mental construct that won't chain me down. With a hot sex scene and a half to leave the room side. Okay, well, I think I'm going to call it a wraps here on ye old live stream. Everybody just got home, coincidentally or incidentally. Actually, coincidentally.
Why are you talking about me?
No, I was just going to end it right now, and then you walked in after I decided I was going to end it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Kimberly says, hi, everyone.
Kimberly,
Good seeing ya, says Sheila W.
how you doing?
Oh, just shopping for the boys.
Oh, how did we get so lucky?
I don't know. Hi, Sheila.
You need a lighter, don't you?
I do.
A little dangerous.
That menthol.
Hi, Eileen.
Claw.
Hi, Vita.
Oh, hola.
Hola.
Is Azores? Do they speak Spanish there? In
Hi,
Azores?
Sarah.
I'm going to have to look it up after this thing.
Leon.
Yeah, bye, Sarah Kelly, Leon. When is the next type, please? Michael Thompson, listen. The new singularity, channel singularity, in which every video is purposed for maximal output, will no doubt involve some type police videos. It's going to begin this new phase on August 15th when I get my new laptop. Until then, I can still live stream, so I probably still live stream, and that's about all I can do. I can't like do anything else really on this computer. I can't do any multi-tracking on audio. I haven't even bothered trying video editing on here. 8 divided by 2, parentheses, 2 plus 2 equals. 1.
Oh, sweet. That's okay.
I'm going to say 1. Is that right? There's Spacey's bongo solo. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. Did you give up on the March Madness? Like, oh no, just back burner. Nothing ever goes away forever.
I play smartphone bongos.
Yeah, did you give up on March Madness?
No, we're in a. Karen, did you forget about March? About Mercury in
We're
retrograde?
in September now.
The March refers to the rhythm of the song that goes along with it, which is in 2. It's a march. I say 1. That's what I say. Okay, with that, I bid you all a fond adieu.
Farewell.
A fond adieu. Goodbye.
Goodbye, all.
In stream. This isn't seeming to working very well. There we go. In stream.
Sure you